Hello, I'm Bruce Zimmerman, and this is the Open Line Garden Show podcast for this week.
Now, Perennials from Blue Sky. This is a grower who only does distribution, so you can't buy from him directly. But very often what you'll find is that he distributes these plants throughout Ontario to all the major garden centers. So start looking and see if there are some here that you really want to add to your garden. And this is what gives you interest. Change things around and sort of pick things up and change the blooming time. Sometimes people will say, I've got too many yellows, or I've got too many pinks. And this is what they do, is they go in and they sacrifice sometimes a perennial that they got bored with and put in something new. Let's start with the Delphinium. There's a new Delphinium called $1 Million Sky. Now, it's a light blue semi-double to double blooms. That means really thick petals and flower heads. It has blooms in early summer to early fall. It's 2.5 to 3 feet tall, which makes it very manageable. It is 1.5 to 2 feet wide, full sun to part shade, and remember, we want to make sure that the plant itself is in good soil conditions in order to do it. It also appreciates a mulch as well. The new Millennium Stars is not a new one, but it's a mix that has become very, very popular. It was a mix of New Zealand bred hybrids. They're multicolored, so you're going to see whites and pinks and purples. It's got a moderate rate of growth and blooms in early summer to early fall. They're 3 to 6 feet tall and 1.5 to 2 feet wide, full sun to part shade, and they're hardy to zone 3, which means they're tough. But also what you'll find is that these ones will need protection from wind, so just be aware of that. Now, let's move on to Dianthus. Dianthus is pinks, carnations, and there are many, many kinds in this group. And it gets people confused because they'll look at it and go, that looks like a carnation. That looks like Sweet William. And they're all right. They're all Dianthus. So the first one is Bumbleberry Pie. Love the name. It's a pink as opposed to it's a Dianthus, but it's in the pinks group. It has rose pink single flowers with hot pink centers, silver blue foliage, compact, mounding, and it blooms in mid-spring. It's 1 foot tall and 1 foot wide. It loves the sun. Now let's talk a little bit about the soil for all of the Dianthus. First of all, you can improve the soil all you like, and you should, but if you add manures, if you add compost, finished compost, and you add peat moss, they're all too acidic to be successful with Dianthus. What happens is over time they degrade and die out. What you need to do is change the pH to something sweeter by adding horticultural lime to the soil. Let it work in. Try and put it as fine as possible so that it acts as quickly as possible if you're going to do gardening right away with these. And then do a little top up. Check the pH each spring, probably in May when the soil is warmed up, and you're looking for something around 7 as a pH for all of the Dianthus. Now the next one is Early Bird Radiance. It's crimson red double flowers. It's a rebloomer, which makes it very valuable. Blue-green foliage, mounding habit, blooms in spring to summer, half a foot to a foot tall and half a foot to a foot wide. Full sun, part shade, and of course, remember, we want the sweet soil. Dianthus Georgia Peach Pie. Love this. I think I'm hungry. Soft pink single flowers with a coral center rings, a peach eye. It's got sturdy stems. It's got blue-gray foliage. Blooms spring to summer. And it's 1 foot tall and 1 foot wide. So, as you can see, they're going to be very different. And there's maraschino, which is another dianthus. It is in the Fruit Punch series. And it's fragrant, double, hot cherry red blooms with a burgundy center, frilled petals, and it's very, very low mound of spiky, silvery, gray, blue, silvery foliage. It blooms in early summer, and it reblooms. Lovely. Fragrant, reblooms, double. You're getting into an area where it's a plant you should be growing in your garden. It mounts to 9 to 11 inches tall and 12 to 14 inches wide. Full sun, sweet soil, and is hardy to zone 4. Spike Punch. This is in the Punch series. It's a rebloomer, a double. It's a vibrant fuchsia pink. Blooms with a deep red center, serrated petals. The flowers are on top of a mound of blue-gray foliage. Blooms in early summer, and the mound 6 to 8 inches tall and 12 to 14 inches wide. As you can see, a lot of these will be up towards the front of the garden, so you really do want them to rebloom. But their distinctive foliage will give you nice contrast, and because they're mounds, they will look good even in the summer when they're not in bloom. Sweetie Pie is another dianthus that's new. Semi-double, true pink flowers with a darker pink center, abundant flowers on top of a low mound of silvery blue-green foliage. The blooms are in early summer. Its mounded habit is 10 inches tall and 12 to 14 inches wide, full sun, and of course hardy to zone 4. Now here's the contrast plant. This one's called Key Lime Pie. It's a new one. It's pure white, single flowers with green centers, sturdy stems, compact mound, blooms in spring to fall, 1 foot tall, 1 foot wide, full sun, and hardy only to zone 5. So it's a good contrast to many of the other plants as well. Now, we can move into the echinaceas, and echinaceas are always, how shall I put this? They're almost overbred, overshowing in gardens, but they make such a good show for such a long period of time, and they are native to the American Midwest. So it's a plant that people do like to go and add to their garden. The first one I want to do on the coneflower is Echinacea Kismet Yellow. Now this is a golden yellow. It's surrounded by a golden cone, so it means that it's gold, gold, gold. Abundant daisy flowers on dense, compact plant. That's good, because some of them get really out of hand tall. Blooms in early summer to fall. It's a 1.5 foot tall, 2 feet wide, full sun, hardy to zone 4, and you should be good with that. Puff Vanilla. Now, this one is a double flower. It's creamy white, 4 inches wide flowers, low mound, fast growing, long blooming. It actually blooms in early summer to fall. That's long blooming. 1.5 foot tall, 2 feet wide, full sun. So what you're looking at is something a little that you can move a little closer to the front of your border, but also as a contrast being white to the others. And people will look at it and go, that's different. Echinacea palladia. This one is a pale purple coneflower. This one is very, very native. By that it means it looks like it's never been bred. The petals are recurved backwards. And of course, that's what recurve means, but also thin, long, pink. Got the sort of typical echinacea cone in the center. It blooms in early summer to late summer. It's 2 to 3 feet tall, 1 to 1.5 feet wide, and full sun. The flowers are a pale pinkish purple, and they are very large. Yeah, very large. That center cone can be a coppery orange, but let's be honest, this one looks... I wouldn't plant this one. If it was a native garden, okay, but it looks like a native plant that hasn't got those really nice petals and wide and good coverage of the petals that you're used to. So forget it. For me, no. Sombrero Granada Gold coneflower. It's in the Sombrero series. It's a golden yellow daisy with a orange yellow cone. It's well branched, compact, sturdy. That means it's got all the good assets as a perennial. Blooms in early summer to fall, 1.5 feet to 2 feet tall, and 1.5 to 2 feet wide. Full sun. Zone 4. I think you're going to like that one. I looked at it and went, oh, that almost looks like a single marigold. But it's not, and it's much bigger flowered, and I think you will like it simply because of the color. Now, there is another one that you can get. It's not a new one. It's been around a while. It's called Supreme Cantaloupe. And I like this one because of the color. Cantaloupe melon, double blooms, bright green foliage, blooms in midsummer to mid-fall, which means it's when you're out there in the garden you're going to see it. Moderate rate of growth. It's 1.5 to 2 feet tall and 1.5 feet wide. Full sun. Zone 4. So it's something that's got a nice color to it that's a little different, and you can put it in there. Raspberry lychee. This is in the smoothie series, for those of you who like smoothies. Bicolored white petals with pink centers, vigorous, compact growth, blooms early to late summer, 2 feet tall and 2 feet wide, full sun, zone 4. This one is going to give you a great contrast to all the others, simply because of the bicolor white petals with pink centers. You're going to really like that one as well. Cherry melon is a smoothie. It is an orange echinacea flowered with pink centers and large orange cones. It's vigorous in its growth, blooms in early to late summer. It's 2 to 2.5 feet tall and 1.5 feet wide, full sun, zone 4. Here is a strawberry mango, a smoothie, bicolor yellow with red centers, dark yellow cone, and compact. It is a hardy plant that blooms early to late summer, 2 feet tall, 2 feet wide, and full sun. So you're going to like that one an awful lot. We'll do some more, but remember to start checking with your garden centers and find out if they're carrying these now that you know what you are looking for in the new perennials from Blue Sky Nurseries, which sells only wholesale to garden centers throughout Ontario and Canada.
I'm Bruce Zimmerman. This is the Open Line Garden Show podcast for this week.